We're firing on all cylinders, both on News 6 Plus tonight and our News 6 WKMG YouTube channel. Good evening, everybody. This is meteorologist David Nazario with you in the Digital Weather Center. We've got a lot of ruckus going on in Central Florida this evening. A little bit of a pinch zone occurring between Major Hurricane Melissa and an approaching frontal system that's actually expected to provide us with some relief as we go through the day on Tuesday, Wednesday, leading up to our big cold snap that should be arriving just in time for Halloween Eve and Halloween night. So for those of you tuning in over on News 6 Plus, it's great to have you with us. Same thing with the News 6 YouTube channel. We've got a lot going on in the studio tonight, so we're going to rapidly jump right into this. I want to get you over to the radar right now. If you take a look at what's going on out there, we've got a miserable setup unfolding for areas of Titusville, Port St. John, Rockledge, Central and Upper Brevard County. We've also seen a lot of heavy rainfall in Central and Northeastern Lake County. Flash flood conditions have been in effect for a considerable amount of time right now, and I can actually hear the weather buzzer in the background in the newsroom right now going off. Sounds like we've got something else popping right now. The primary reason I'm live with you this evening, however, is that same training group of showers and very heavy rainfall has now warranted the issuance of a severe thunderstorm warning into Brevard County, right over top Port St. John. Let me zoom you on in there, show you the polygon in question. This is it. We've had a significant amount of rainfall drop over this area, and I think what's been going on is we've got convergence, easterly flow coming in off the east coast. We've got a little bit of mid to upper level westerly flow coming across the state, creating a bit of a dominant neutral point where these systems are just meandering right over top Merritt Island, Port St. John, Cocoa, Rockledge, Cape Canaveral, Anassa area. Mims, you're just outside of this. Titusville, you finally are starting to get a bit of a reprieve. We've had a few folks call into our studio this evening actually mentioning they've got flooding ongoing in their household. A couple inches of water making it into their homes, which is not good at all. And it kind of goes back to what I was telling one of our directors earlier tonight. It's a big give and take with Mother Nature. If you've been watching me long enough, whether it be here at News 6, on social media, YouTube, wherever, you know I always mention it's a big give and take with Mother Nature, because the same system that is keeping Major Hurricane Melissa away from Central Florida is helping to up our rain chances and provide a bit of that convergent flow between the powerful counterclockwise turning that's driving up more tropical moisture from our east coast, all thanks to Melissa. So it looks like we're still feeling impacts associated with both storm systems, even as far north as Central Florida. If I pull you over to what our rain rates have looked like, take a look at this. In the last hour now, this is just the last hour, and I'll take it full screen so I get my face out of the way. Merritt Island area has seen 4.1 inches of rainfall. Getting closer to the Barrier Islands and Cape Canaveral, about 2 inches of rainfall. Further south you go, getting closer to Cocoa and Rockledge, we're sitting around 5 inches of rain. That's how much has piled up in just the last hour. This is the last hour here that we're looking at in terms of our rainfall. Let me get the telestrator out of the way. I thought I could go ahead and circle past hour, but unfortunately it didn't quite let me. Let me clear that out. Zoom me on down in just a little bit more, and we're going to look at the last 3 hours because this is when our totals really start to ramp up. Get my face out of the way once again, and we'll get a couple of queries in here. So for Titusville and Mims, in the last 3 hours, 7.4 inches of rain have collected in that general area. Same thing with the Merritt Island area, about 7.4 inches. You go to 6 hours, and we have received over a foot of rainfall now in Titusville. In the last 12 hours, definitely exceeding that threshold. This event began sometime, I want to say, between the hours of 2:30 and 3:30 this afternoon. We've started to really see a piling up of water in that general area. Give me one split second. I want to check my other radar app here on my phone, see what it is that warranted the weather alert buzzer to go off in our newsroom. I'm trying to get which one. There's so many polygons collected on top of one another. I'm trying to sift through the layers here. So we still have that severe thunderstorm warning. This area is likely tapping into a lot of the dry air that we've had well above where we are at ground level. It's been a very interesting setup for a lot of us out here in Central Florida. And I think our computer models did a very terrible job at kind of getting a feel for just how much moisture was going to be pumped in from our south and southeast in association with Major Hurricane Melissa, and then the approaching frontal system that's helped to spark some severe thunderstorms to our neighbors, over our neighbors in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, the Dixie Valley, the Deep South area. I'll go ahead and take us off radar for just one moment. Apologies for my voice there. It's been back and forth with me for the last several days. So let's go over here. Let's take a look at our water vapor satellite. Going to go ahead and pull that up for you here if I can get my link system to catch up. It's taking its sweet time. Here we go. So this is what we're looking at. I'll zoom it out, and we'll do a little more drawing with everybody there in the chat. So this is our first upper low, spinning counterclockwise, centered over portions of Oklahoma and Arkansas. Take you full screen so we can draw this in together. You can see the moisture tail really working in over Pensacola, Alabama, and Mississippi. But make no mistake, since this is looking at a multitude of different layers in the atmosphere, notice how the colors down here, the rust shades of browns and darker oranges, they've been bullied down towards Miami. We're getting a nice bit of moisture feeding into the upper portions of the peninsula thanks to this approaching storm system and the trough that's working in, as well as this pocket of jet stream energy highlighted by my green arrows there. The jet stream really helps to push in additional upper level moisture as well. And then if I turn the telestrator off, clear the ink, and I zoom us out even further, there's Melissa, the bomb of a Category 4, borderline Category 5 hurricane, I would say at this point, just based on the satellite representation. We've got a lot of really powerful turning in the winds around this system like so. And as a result, we're seeing additional mid to upper level tropical moisture flowing in like this. And I just built this graphic over in the news or in the studio just a little while ago. What I'm going to do here is overlay some winds for you all to see. We'll use the GFS as an example. We'll use our wind velocity tool. We'll go to 700 millibars. This is the transitional point between the mid and upper levels of our atmosphere. And look at when I turn on the animated arrows here. You see what's happening over the state of Florida? Notice how as I streamline here and I draw with the arrows, we've got westerly flow coming in like this, and then we've got easterly flow coming in like this, and they all go up. And then check this out. Easterly flow from here transitions to more of a southerly flow, and then that same westerly flow on the left-hand side of Florida transitions also to that southerly flow. So what we have right here, dead center, is called a col, C-O-L. It's a neutral point in your environmental flow, and that's precisely why we've seen such a bolstering of our moisture throughout the day today. And couple that with the warmer bodies of water, believe it or not, just like our tropical systems down there, thunderstorms, local thunderstorms, and just your garden variety showers and rainfall actually also thrive from a bit of a nudge in the moisture department as a result of hot bodies of water. And what does Florida have a lot of? Plenty of lakes, rivers, and a lot of standing water and saturated grounds from all the previous heavier rainfalls we captured during the beginning of October and the tail end of September, all thanks to the different tropical features we've had out there and the caving in of our frontal systems and troughs extending down through the southeast United States. So we'll get back over to the radar, take a look at what's going on out there. And you can see we do have that severe thunderstorm polygon here. This could produce winds anywhere between 60 to 65 miles an hour. A tornado is possible, albeit the threat is very low. Today was never a tornadic day. Today was far more a flood potential and a possible windy day, all thanks to the dry air that still is lingering with us above about 8 to 10,000 feet high in the atmosphere. So where we are at ground level to about 5, 6, 7,000 feet, we've seen a lot of moisture rapidly build in through the Central Florida Peninsula. That's why we're seeing such heavy rain rates with these showers and thunderstorms. Then you get a little bit of that dry air to mix into that rising updraft that's producing our thunderstorm. And believe it or not, because it's more dense, it actually helps to pick up that momentum, create a little bit more lift, and then it rains down that much harder because it's heavier. It's more dense, so it comes down at a faster pace. That's what we're seeing right now, dare I say, in much of central and northern Brevard County. I got to check in with a couple of my viewers over on social media here very soon. I see a couple of you in the chat right now, as a matter of fact, over on YouTube, but I do know there's a couple of you out there who watch from Brevard County specifically. And it's definitely been a very, very, very eventful second half of the Sunday. We'll go on over to Lake County now, where we still have a flash flood warning in effect. It's been extended a couple minutes out till about 10 o'clock, and we have not seen these rainfalls, these rain shafts here move at all whatsoever over the last 3 to 6 hours. We've been seeing a lot of rain down there. Going to switch us over to the rainfall totals. Let's take a look at the 1 hour totals for this corner of the world in Lake County. So we've seen about 3, on average 2 to 4 inches. We'll just round up and down. 2 to 4 inches out there in Lake County near the Eustis, Tavares, Estotula area, Umatilla. To the immediate east, Orange City, Deltona, Sanford, Lake Mary, Winter Springs, portions of Volusia and Seminole County have actually dodged the bullet. They had a lot of rain working through there as well, but nothing to quite sit and just hammer out how much rainfall could come down. When you look at the rain rates in that particular area, especially if we move just a little further down to the south and west, to Tavares, Astotula, Montverde, Mineola, Claremont, kind of getting closer to us ever so slightly here in Orlando, they're seeing some fairly impressive rain rates out there right now, anywhere between 5 to 7 inch rain rates. So that's how much we could possibly see accumulate over the next hour if these storms don't get up out of there. They're really just not moving, and it sounds like we have something else coming out. I can hear the buzzer going off in the newsroom once again. I'm going to look down at my radar. Yeah, that rain is not moving at all, both in Brevard County and Lake County. It's kind of squeaking into northwestern Orange County as well, to tell you the truth. Let's see. What did we get? What did we get? What did we get? I'm looking at my other radar app to see what's popped off. They may have extended the flash flood warning. Maybe that's what it is. Not for Lake County. Looks like they may have extended the flash flood warning for portions of Upper Brevard, closer to the Titusville area, because we do still have a lot of rainfall falling in that area. The severe thunderstorm warning is set to expire in about 22 minutes. It's been bad out there. Yeah, Captain Rex over on YouTube. Same thing with Mongolian Monster over on our YouTube channel says Eustis is flooding pretty bad, raining pretty good in Umatilla. Scrooge McDuck, it's great to see you. If you've got photos out there, please send it into our newsroom. We're going to be using it for our 11:30 newscast. It's kind of a shame that we're going on a little later tonight despite everything that's happening right now. That's why I decided to just go ahead and jump on a live discussion and start talking weather with everybody. Let me go ahead and switch us back to the actual reflectivity, the regular radar here. So these clusters of very heavy rains, I'm going to turn the alerts off for now because we already know what's out there. This cluster here has not moved at all whatsoever. It looks like it's trying to move slowly, more wobble down towards the southeast, getting closer to Sanford. Altamont Springs will come in a little bit closer to pinpoint a couple of areas. So Zellwood's finally getting in on the heavier rain rates. Apopka, Wekiwa Springs, we're getting ready to come up next because we are very slowly propagating or transitioning towards the southeast. Astotula, Tavares, you're almost done, especially Tavares and Eustis. Hopefully we can get this to move. If I show you the loop for the last couple minutes, we'll do 30 minutes. Notice we really have not gone anywhere. We're starting to see a little bit of eastward progression, but it's not much. The loop started there 30 minutes ago, and our heaviest rain band has moved maybe, gosh, how far is that? Let's see. About 9 miles. We've moved 9 miles to the southeast, give or take. That's about it. Jeffrey Griffin says over out there in Cocoa, Brevard County, right over here. And look at that. You can see how these thunderstorms are just feeding off the warm waters in here. There's a lot of water in between the barrier islands. There's water here. You get a sliver of actual interior land. Then you've got another corridor of water there, and that's exactly where it has set up. I would not be surprised if we have some localized, just convergent flow. We were battling wind or air trying to escape off the coast from Central Florida, and then rain as well as inflow from off the coast, trying to battle it and duke it out to the point where nothing is moving. It has just been there stationary. Cape Canaveral is being inundated. Let's show you the rain rates here. Let's see, where are we at? Go back to now. Gosh, yeah, we are still seeing some very, very, very heavy rain rates. Seems like we're topping out between 6 to 7 inches per hour. If we can't get this to move, we are definitely going to surpass the foot threshold if we haven't already in some spots. I would imagine we've probably exceeded a foot of rainfall in some areas already. And forgive me, I know it just looks like I'm having fun with the query tool, but I'm just trying to get a feel for exactly what it is that we're seeing down there as I try to zoom us in at street level. Mims still seeing some fairly heavy rainfall. Same with JJ, LaGrange, Titusville. Got another thing going off. I can hear it in the background. I'm not sure if you're all picking up on that ringing. Pardon the silence. Taking a look at oh, there it is. All right, so we've got a flash flood emergency. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm going to need a cough drop after this before the 11:30. So we've got a flash flood emergency for Lake County. Let me turn this back on, show you what we've got there. It's not populating on here just yet. We'll pull back the actual radar. So in this same general area in Lake County, we've got a flash flood emergency. While it's populating there, I will go ahead and read off the narrative to you all here. The National Weather Service in Melbourne has issued a flash flood warning for Central Lake County and East Central Florida. Heavy rain across the warned area between 15 and 18 inches of rain have fallen. Additional rainfall amounts of 2 to 3 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly. This is a flash flood emergency for Eustis and Mount Dora. This is a particularly dangerous situation. Seek higher ground. Who'd have thought we were going to see a PDS flash flood warning issued for Central Florida today? Our models definitely cooked this completely. And I'm going to be very bold with you. I felt like I had egg on my face when I woke up this morning because every single computer model that I had looked at throughout the day yesterday and leading up to today and tomorrow, which is why our 7-day forecast had between 20 to 30% chance of rain for the day today, showed almost nothing. Our models did absolutely terrible in terms of kind of getting a feel for just how much saturation we would receive. We're getting another warning. We've got another warning popping off. Young girl Kaylee in the chat asks, what about Cocoa, Florida? Cocoa is seeing a lot of rainfall right now. We've got a tremendous amount of rainfall right now going on. We've got another warning coming out. Stand by. I want to see what we have on radar. I want to see when it pops up. We should get it on my radar app. All right, we got to go live. We got to go live. We've got a tornado warning in Brevard. We gotta boot up the chroma, please. All right, hey, everybody, stand by. We've got a tornado warning in Brevard County. I got to go jump on the air really quick. Let me just double check. I'm seeing what I'm seeing. Yep, we've got a tornado warning issued for Brevard. I'm going to put you on standby. If you want to tune in on air, feel free to do so. But if not, I'll be right back with you, hopefully, once this radar indicated warning is discontinued. But I'm going to go jump on the air right now. I'm going to leave you with source 2. And I promise I'll return to you. I'm just going to leave the stream running in the background for now. All right. Hey, everybody. We are back. We're back. Thank you very much for those who have stuck around in the chat, both on News 6 Plus and on YouTube. We are back to your regularly scheduled programming over on the television side of things, and we are back to tracking the flood conditions in Central Florida because, again, despite that rogue tornado warning that came up for a second there, I really don't think we're going to have anything confirmed in terms of a touchdown or any tornadic damage, which is good news. Jeffrey Griffin says over on the YouTube channel, Fox 35 is saying the tornado warning is expired. However, the last tracking was the area of North Courtney and Judson Road. Yes. It definitely did look like on radar we had a brief bit of spin try to form up. Could have been maybe a change inside the thunderstorm. We had a lot of rain coming down in one isolated area that generated a little bit more outflow. Winds coming down towards the ground out of your thunderstorm that kind of tried to create a little bit of mixing because it definitely was a very fast event. I'll go ahead and actually show you that. Let me get the radar back up. And we'll go back to that area. We'll take a look at the last 30-some-odd minutes in Brevard County. Let's see. We'll go to the velocity. See, this is the area in question right there. It's really fallen apart. You can see winds are still kind of trying to move towards the radar here and then move away there. So it looks like we may have had a downburst. Nice little burst of air that comes down out of your thunderstorm and then hits the ground and spreads out in all directions. If I lapse the radar 30 minutes, you can see right there. See that? Bam. Embracing my inner Emerald Lagasse once again. Bam. You can see that little spin right there. That's what warranted the tornado warning, and then it very quickly collapsed. And one reason I think this was more of a localized wind event inside the thunderstorm is look at how the north and south sides of it continued to race off and stretch out, expand. So it looks like we had some very strong winds hit the ground all at once at a weird angle and then try to create a little bit of that counterclockwise turning that brought up that tornado warning to begin with, but then it quickly dissipated. So naturally, definitely enough to warrant a tornado warning. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was a false alarm. Absolutely issue off of that because that's all it takes here in East or West Central Florida, especially back during our sea breeze days. But in this situation, it definitely did not look like it was an actual tornado-producing thunderstorm. I want to check in with the chat because we have a lot of people watching right now. Amy A says, I'm in Port St. John. No tornado watch, Adriana. There was a tornado warning for a brief second. Very brief second. Sorry, was responding to our news director via Teams. So, all right, how is everybody doing out there? Can I get a head count in the chat? We've got just under 300 people watching. I apologize. We don't have an active counter for our folks over on News 6 Plus, but I want to check in with everybody, see how we're doing out there. I'd also give a couple shout outs while on the air moments ago, mentioning that some of you over there on YouTube, the News 6 YouTube channel, if you could please give me a holler. Let us know if you did see anything potentially tornadic. We had our Port Canaveral cam pulled up out there for a couple of instances during the newscast. Well, not the newscast, but during the cut-in, I should say. And it really looked tropical out there. You can see the palm trees going, sideways rain. It's raining sideways. Definitely a lot going on out there, which also leads me to suspect, again, it was just what's called downrush winds. You have all that air rising up in the atmosphere in your updraft, as it's called. You have the air going up. It has to come down at some point. The classic phrase, what goes up must come down. No tornado warning. I'll go ahead and go back to the now image. Stop the loop. You could see the area that was previously rotating for a very brief moment in time, the reds up against the greens there, Definitely was a lot more consolidated for at least a couple of radar scans. Gonna need a cough drop after this. The area that was once more consolidated very quickly washed out, which is excellent news because I really do want us to keep focusing on the flash flood emergency that's going on up here. This is our flash flood emergency. Finally have it in effect. Go back to the regular radar. Thankfully, it looks like we're finally making a little progress. The area underneath that flash flood emergency is starting to see less and less of the rainfall for now. We don't want to underestimate this, though, because I'm sure our rainfall totals and our rain rates are still fairly impressive, and they are. We're still seeing anywhere between 1 inch to 2 inches per hour falling in that area near to Eustis and Tavares. Sean 35, I can neither confirm nor deny. Not going to read your comment out loud, but I definitely take advantage of the caffeine, that's for sure, especially on a night like tonight. Forgive me, I'm checking my mobile radar app one more time just to see what's going on for the flash flood emergency. To give you a heads up, it looks like it's going to be in effect until 1 a.m. So it's definitely going to be with us until 1 a.m. Matt Hunter over on YouTube says, I might have seen a mini funnel in Merritt Island, Diana Shores area around the time of that downburst. It's very possible because technically, as the air rushes down and then expands in all directions, you still can get a little bit of a very quick spinning in the atmosphere that will try to produce a funnel. Not sure what's going on in the chat right now, but thank you for the folks moderating the discussion. There's always that few, whether it's Melissa down in Jamaica or dangerous situations here in Central Florida. We gotta crack jokes one way or another. I'll never understand it. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just glad that we've gotten the tornado warning out of that area. We've still got very heavy rainfall going on. I'll show you the last hour loop. And please ignore the cycling polygons. I know it's going to show the red polygon one more time again, but ignore that. We're looking at the last hour, so it will generate what was previously in that spot through the last hour. But if you notice, these heavy rain bands, they're still not moving. This is the last hour, especially for Merritt Island, closer to Kennedy Space Center, Cocoa, Rockledge, trying to sneak into the Cocoa Beach area. We're just not seeing much progression with these heavy rains. And then if you look down to the south, we've got more coming in. A little bit getting into Satellite Beach, scraped the coastline of Palm Bay, Mico, and Sebastian. Old stomping ground for my family back in the day. Looks like we're about to get whacked here in Orlando. Studio is probably going to be rocking here very soon. We've got some very heavy rains and strong storms moving towards Ocoee. Probably some good winds on that as well. Oh, yeah, look at that. Actually kind of watching that, I'm wondering if we're going to get another warning issued. We're starting to get a little bit of spin in these areas as well. A little bit of spin, conflicting areas of wind right here approaching Ocoee, and then back up just outside of Mount Dora. And it looks like we just had another special weather statement kick off. I bet you 10-1 that's probably something for winds. Winds, yep, and then minor hail, yep. So that's looking a little iffy. I'm not going to lie. We might have to cut in again. Because this is starting to get a little iffy, in my opinion. This is what I was talking about when we were on air a little while ago. When you see the greens and the reds getting right up against one another, rubbing elbows with each other, that's when it starts to get a little spinny. Things start to spin, and there's a little bit of a hook there. See that kinking? I'll go ahead and clear my first layer of ink, folks. There's a kink right there that I'm watching. That tells me we've got a little bit of inflow in that area, and we're trying to spin. Definitely trying to spin, only this time we're up in Lake, northwestern Orange County. We'll see, though. It could possibly be another situation where something is just collapsing, and we're going to get a lot of wind all at once because these are some very tall thunderstorms, that's for sure. Yeah, see, there is some rotation there. What I have pulled up now is called shear. Shear tells us where we could possibly be seeing that spin component to the updraft. So your updraft obviously goes up and down. It could be tilted depending on what the winds are doing to it. And when you get shear, that's the horizontal component to it as well. And that's what creates the possible turning. So definitely doable. I'm going to watch this very closely. We do have some power outages out there as well. Figure, I know we're not in the middle of a hurricane or hurricane coverage, but I thought I'd pull this up as well. It looks like we've got about 1,000 customers without power in Brevard County, likely from that severe thunderstorm that was out there earlier. And let me take a look at Volusia. Volusia has some power. About 100, 200 customers without power in Volusia County. I'm really going to watch. I'm going to leave my radar app in front of me here, keep glancing down at it, because I definitely think we might want to be prepared to cut in again one more time just in case. This is the new area in question here. Let me clear those queries and zoom you in. This spot right there, that's looking kind of interesting. It's definitely a notched thunderstorm. You see that little butterfly or that heart shape? That tells me there's a good bit of shear acting on that. A tornado confirmed. There's absolutely no way that we're confirming it on the ground right now because we don't even have a warning out for it. No tornadic signature out there in Brevard County right now. There is a very fast area of spin. It looks like you could maybe catch it on your reflectivity. One brief moment of some spin out there, but nothing truly consolidated. And it was so embedded within all that heavy rainfall, it probably didn't really have a fighting chance to actually organize and do something. I'm definitely going to keep my eyes on what's happening up here near, let's zoom us way down in Ethel, Wekiva, Markham, immediately east of Mount Plymouth and Seminole Springs. And Matt Hunter over on YouTube right now makes a very valid point. Even local law enforcement are urging folks to just stay off the road. Oh, yeah, I think that area is going to try to get going. Going to be watching that very closely. And there's something else that just jumped out at me that I didn't even think of at first. But looking at this cell right here, notice how this general line is rapidly accelerating. We're starting to pick up speed, which is good news in terms of our flash flood emergency and the flash flood conditions out there, but we're starting to pick up some eastward momentum. But then take a look at all this stuff that's building here. We've got a really good directional component to our wind flow. As this continues to punch towards the east, it's moving in from the west, so we're naturally going to try to see that little bit of a pivot, which is probably what this is feeling right now, albeit it has gone stationary. This is not moving, so this is probably going to drag some of those flood conditions off towards the east as well. We're probably going to see another flash flood warning go off in that general area, especially once you take into the equation that we've got those heavy rain rates out there now too. Yep, there you go. We're topping out around 7.5 inches per hour in terms of our rainfall rates in that area that has pushed pause right near Ethel. In between Ethel, Wekiva, Seminole Springs, Markham, Benson Junction, St. John's River Estates, Bookertown, trying to get in on some of the action, flirting with the outer periphery of it. That's probably the same thing that you're seeing moving through right now. They're probably going to issue a special weather statement for this line here. I'm surprised they haven't already because this area is moving fast. Probably seeing anywhere between 30 to 40 miles an hour on the surface where we can feel it because of how quickly that ball of energy is moving. This is what I'm watching here, though. This doesn't look all that impressive anymore. And I think that stationary motion probably is what killed it. Had it kept moving, this probably would have had an opportunity to try to do something. But now it looks like we're going to start to fixate a little bit more so on Apopka and Ocoee to the south. Right there where you see those shades of green, that leading edge of where I just drew that white line, really good acceleration in your air. That tells me that the winds are rapidly coming in out of the west. Montverde, Ocoee, you're probably getting windy right now. Apopka, you're coming up next. Same with Lockhart, Pine Hills. This is honestly right outside the studio. I go to the gym in Ocoee, Pine Hills area, the Crunch in this general area on occasion, and the News 6 studio is in this ballpark. So we're probably going to get hammered here by some winds here by this thing as well very soon. Yeah, looking down at my radar app in front of me on my phone, I think the reason we're not going to see that thing try to spin any more than it did is because we went from accelerating east to stopping once again. So now we're not seeing that conflicting movement of air. Port St. Lucie, we can take a look out there right now. Oh, excuse me. I was trying to hold that in, I promise. Gonna have to use a different radar. There we go. So Port St. Lucie's doing okay. We've got an aerial flood advisory, which means we could get some ponding on the roadways out there, but definitely doing okay. Fort Pierce, Port St. Lucie, Palm City. Down further to the south, closer to Miami, though, we're also seeing some flooding near Boca Raton, Delray, Boynton Beach. That's where my grandmother is. Thankfully, I haven't heard anything in the newsroom in terms of the whistling anymore. Oh, it's okay. No worries. You could ask away. Absolutely. I just don't know how to say your username. GDP says that was the most achoo sneeze I've ever heard. Shoddy Hottie says it's a human bodily function, man. Don't worry. Thank you for the bless you as well. I appreciate that. As soon as I get off of here, I'm going to have to do the warm salt water and a cough drop. That is true. Jeffrey Griffin says, best way to avoid a sneeze is to press your tongue to the roof of your mouth. Most awkward way is to have someone do it for you. Can't say I would want anyone to do it for me, but, you know, I am going to keep that in my back pocket. All right, on a serious note, let's get back to the Melbourne radar. Gosh, yeah, we still have a wicked situation unfolding in Brevard County. This whole area is just not moving. We're probably going to realize an extra 2 to 3 inches of rainfall within the next hour or two down there, without a doubt. Rain rates are still very impressive. We're starting to see heavier rainfall into Orange County. Ocoee, you're right on the cusp of seeing the heaviest rainfall moving through your area. Paradise Heights, Fuller's, Crown Point, Winter Garden, Tildenville. Ocoee, you're flirting with it. You could go outside and touch the heavier rainfall. There's Silver Star Road. Yeah, I'm very familiar with this area. That's literally right down the street from us right now. Shoddy Hottie says US 1 all the way up to 528 is flooded. Just barely avoided it on my way back from work. Well, I'm glad that you made it in okay. Logan just joins us in the chat right now, mentions that wants to ask how bad Eustis is. From reports that we've been hearing, not only from folks calling in, but just looking at the radar estimates that have been ongoing, we've been seeing some really nasty stuff. Eustis is not doing too great. Thankfully, though, it does look like we're getting out of our heaviest stuff. We saw a little bit of movement to the southeast. So thankfully, it looks like we can all breathe. We've got some rough conditions out there, but it looks like the status quo is not changing for the time being. Not tracking anything additionally that could go tornadic. The heaviest rainfalls remain in the same general areas. Lake County, now getting into northern Orange County. We're seeing a bit of the eastern extent The leading edge of that getting into western Seminole County. So Sanford, Altamont Springs, other portions of western Seminole County, Lake Mary, Winter Springs. You're probably going to start to see heavy rain over the next hour or two. Matt Hunter over on YouTube says, Brevard County Fire Station 41 is getting flooded. They got water starting to seep in. The Cape Canaveral Space Station getting hammered. I guess Volusia County is not getting anything because Melissa Riley. Well, Melissa, nothing right now. No, not in Volusia. Not in Volusia. Volusia's doing okay. Like I just mentioned, Lake County moving into Seminole and Orange County. That's where we're focusing on our first big pocket of flood conditions, heavy rainfall, and then Brevard County. Volusia County has been doing okay. Volusia's kind of in the void. In fact, you could honestly make a case that Volusia is entirely in the void. Up near Daytona Beach, some very light rain. But our two culprits, we have two culprits out there right now. Thankfully, we've consolidated it down. And I know it's not thankful at the same time because it's a double-edged sword. We've got some really widespread heavy rain, high winds, frequent lightning based on our port cam earlier and what some of you have mentioned in the chat. But I'm grateful that we've consolidated it into two large chunks. It's a lot easier to track that way. Ascendant Goat. I know this is going to sound like a very weird question, but could you possibly take some photos and send it into our newsroom? Denise Williams, that is an excellent question. I plan on going into that once I get into the 11:30 newscast during our main weather because our models have done absolutely terrible with this. Models did absolutely terrible until about our 8 to 11 o'clock a.m. updates this morning. Leading up to this event, our models were positive that the dry air over the state of Florida was going to dominate our weather pattern, and we may see some sneaky rains try to get in here during late in the day, starting about 5 to 6 o'clock. So the timing was there in terms of the overall coverage and intensity, how much of us saw the rain and how heavy the rain came down, completely lost by our computer models. And tonight I'm going to pull a fast one on air because typically we lean on our in-house computer model, the Barron model, and I'll show you that right now. Let's go ahead and do that together here on digital. This will probably be a better place to do that. So here's our in-house model, and I want all of you to tell me what's wrong with this picture. Look at the timestamp at the top there, Sunday, 10 o'clock. It's 10:42 right now, but what's wrong with this picture? I want all of you or some of you in the chat to metaphorically raise your hand and tell me what's wrong with this picture here. Exactly. Thank you, Shoddy Hottie. Sorry for the delay. I was watching the chat to see when someone would mention. But yeah, if you look at the way the model has, quote, initialized, and what initialization means is the initial part of the run, what the model takes in as what's happening real time. So if you look, it says 10 p.m. at the top there. It is 10:43. 10:43 p.m. according to the clock on my computer desktop. And both areas where we're seeing heavy rainfall, we've got nothing. Nothing. Now, if I take us over to our HRRR model, it's another thunderstorm and high resolution model. You can see now we're finally kind of getting the rhythm of it. But even then, this is showing that Volusia and Flagler County are seeing the heaviest rains. Lake and Orange County are clear. So even this, not quite doing it. A little bit better and a little more of an accurate representation, but still not quite all the way there. In fact, I noticed that it's actually our NAM, the NAM model, that's doing the best. If I go back to our earlier model run from this afternoon, we'll go to 12 Zulu. That's a universal time for 8 o'clock in the morning. Notice now we're capturing it a little bit better. Valid for 10 p.m., And it looks like hopefully by about 2, 3 in the morning, we're finally going to see some of that stuff lift over Brevard, Volusia. You're probably going to be rocking here very soon. Some of that stuff's going to reach up into Flagler County. But yeah, truthfully, I'm not going to, here we go. We got something new. I can hear it going off. Just heard the little whistle, the buzz in our newsroom. I'm going to watch the radar, see what pops up. So far, nothing's popping up. I just don't want to see another red polygon. We've definitely got some very strong winds coming right at us, getting ready to hit Pine Hills. I'll show you all that here in a moment. We probably extended an already existing warning. Let's get you back over to the radar because we've got some big-time winds probably headed towards us here in the greater Orlando area, right in through here. There you go. There's that swath of green. It's now through Ocoee, headed towards Altamont Springs, Maitland Winter Park, and the downtown Orlando area, and it's going to be there very soon because it's moving pretty quick. And no, unfortunately, you're asking the wrong person in terms of if school will be closed. That is going to be county and state officials. So Reddit stories, not going to be able to answer that question. Shoddy Hottie, thank you. Alrighty, everybody. I know we've got a lot of folks talking and chatting right now, but I might have to take a brief break. Go pop a throat lozenge real quick before our 11:30 newscast. Finish that up. Now that we no longer have any severe thunderstorm warnings, let alone tornado warnings in effect, probably going to get ready to cut this live stream. But yeah, we've got some really good winds coming right at us. Right through here. South of Popka, Lockhart, Pine Hills, or La Vista. That is the nose of some pretty gusty winds right there. Let me see if I can query this. Yeah, so anywhere between, I would guesstimate between 25, 35 miles an hour. We're probably feeling it on the ground because we got some dry air mixing in. Lots of rain. Shoddy Hottie says, I wanted to be a meteorologist. Sometimes I'm grateful I didn't. We are here in the trenches sometimes. Helmets and battle rattle armor on always. But you know what? It's a very fulfilling career. Love getting to talk with everybody. I love chatting weather. It can be exhausting. Tonight is a prime example of that, but it is so worth it. I eat it up. That's why I'm totally fine with spending as much time with you all talking weather as I am right now. And Jennifer Hart makes a very valid comment. She says, here's the answer to schools. Make the proper decision for your family. Don't wait for the school's plans with this one. To tell you the truth, she's absolutely right. I can neither confirm nor deny if you should or should not go to school. You just have to make the wise decision. And that's part of the reason I do what I do, and part of my responsibility is to get you that information to make those judgment calls. That's why if you watch some of my content on digital and on air, you'll see me constantly trying to dive deep into some long-range forecasting, not for the sake of getting excited over stuff, but just to try to equip you with the information you need to make those timely decisions. In the United States Air Force, we were trained on lead time. Lead time, lead time, lead time. Make an educated guess. Give it your best educated decision. Try to get your customer, your person, your personnel, your group, your office, whatever you're supporting, as much lead time to prepare for a situation as possible. Tornado has been over for a while now. Tornado warning was discontinued approximately half an hour ago. All right, yeah, I think now is a good time to call it good. Going to continue to watch the area unfolding in central and northern Brevard County, but thankfully it looks like we're also starting to diminish some of our flash flood warnings. We still have the flash flood emergency, the PDS flash flood warning in effect for Central Lake County. That's not going anywhere because that is an ongoing situation. If there are flood waters or high waters out there, they're not going to recede within about 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. It's going to take some time. Reddit stories can't answer that question, but I think you're just being a little on the extra side. Lead time is critical. Lead time is how we all make our decisions. Believe it or not, we try to equip you with lead time even during our newscasts. When you see our chief meteorologist come on in the morning to tell you about our afternoon or evening thunderstorms, she's trying to give you a little lead time to then prepare for your afternoon commute or whatever plans you may have for the end of the day. Tonight at 11:30, when I get on newscast, I'm going to try to give you lead time to prepare for your Monday. If you've got some leftover showers and rainfall hanging out with us as the sun comes up, or as we get a rerun of that through the afternoon. And in fact, let's go ahead and take a look at that before we close out. We'll use the NAM since the NAM did the best for today. Monday morning, we're looking pretty good. We should have seen a large majority of our rain clear out. But then as we get towards the warmest part of the day and that cold front begins to come through, we're probably going to see a resurgence of some heavier rain and possible strong thunderstorms, because once again, we're going to back build some of the warmth and that unstable air that we had hanging out with us today. We're still going to continue to see that easterly flow, the winds coming in off the East Coast, off the Atlantic, coming through Brevard, Volusia, and Flagler County, trying to get in as far as Seminole, Orange, and Osceola. And as the winds come in out of the west with that front and that storm system that's going to keep Melissa away from us, that's possibly what's going to create enough oomph and juice in the atmosphere to get thunderstorms rocking with us once again. Nunu girl, in terms of a touchdown in Brevard, I don't think so. When I get back into the weather center here momentarily, I'll double check and see if there were any confirmations. But as far as I'm aware, I don't believe so. And I don't think we will have any confirmation. I really do think it's a lot of wind that came down with that thunderstorm out there, because we have a ton of dry air still out there in the upper levels. Even though we do see that the browns and the rust colors have kind of gone away, let me get this out of the way. If you try to imagine the atmosphere three-dimensionally, I'll go ahead and draw a very, very crude stick figure up to about, we'll say, 7,000 feet. You've got a lot of moisture where we can feel it. But then as soon as you go above 7,000 feet, you've got nothing but, I'll use little waves like this, you've got nothing but dense, dry air up there. So as your thunderstorms try to get beyond that, they start to pull in that dry air and they get heavy. And as a result, not only will they try to get a little more acceleration up, but when all that air, especially as it gets heavier, comes down, the winds are going to blow off of it a lot harder. Those are your downdraft winds. It's Isaac. Good to see you, by the way. Thanks for joining us right now. I think it's safe to say that the rains in Eustis are just about done. We're finally seeing some of this stuff make a little bit of eastward progress, and you can see here our heaviest stuff is going to stay just to your immediate east. So can't rule out some leftover drizzle, if not light rain, based on what I'm seeing here, the little light to darker shades of green. But in terms of Eustis, Umatilla, and Tavares, you should be just about done with some of the heaviest rain. We'll show you the last 30 minutes. You can see it's finally trying to nudge towards the east there. Some of it trying to refire, like I mentioned at the very start of the stream, some of the bodies of water there trying to reinvigorate some of the rain. So it's going to be on and off, but we're definitely not in the harshest of the rainfall anymore. And you can see we're discontinuing the flash flood warnings there. So, all right, I hate to be abrupt. I really don't want to be abrupt, but I know that we're counting down to our 11:30 newscast. I want to go finish building the show. Thank you all so much for being such a spectacular audience tonight and bearing with me, running back and forth, talking tornadoes, lightning, Melissa, and all this other jazz. It's been a whirlwind of an evening, but it couldn't have gone any better with you all in the chat having a conversation about all the wicked weather that's going on in Central Florida. If you can watch 11:30 tonight, I'm happy to talk a little bit more weather for you. Won't be a two-directional conversation, unfortunately, but I will try to make it as entertaining but informative as possible. That's my number one goal whenever I step in front of the chroma key. Be safe out there. It's late on a Sunday night. Everybody should be nestled in, getting ready for the new week ahead. So please stay safe, especially if you are in Lake Orange, Seminole County, or especially Brevard County with all the rains coming down out there. I always advocate for maintaining your situational awareness. Keep your head on a swivel, keep flashlights close. Make sure you don't have any electronics just hanging out there, especially if you do have floodwaters trying to get into the house. And just watch. It's not hurricane coverage, but it is very tropical out there. So if you are seeing the flood conditions in your local area, this is one of those nights where I hate to say it, but you're probably going to lose a little sleep, and it would behoove you to lose a little sleep just to make sure you keep everything on lockdown. Just watch, maintain that situational awareness so nothing sneaks up on you. And by that, I just mean damage or more flood conditions or a possible lightning strike, wind damage. You never know with the stuff that's going on because we have a very volatile local weather pattern in place right now. And Melissa, thank you very much. She says, feel better soon, David. I think it's just, it's kind of, just me being worn down. That's all. I just got to get some good rest. Freethinker 59, you're very welcome. Yvette, it's great to see you in the chat. Jennifer Harp says, great advice. Thank you very much for that. And exactly, we also have to remember that in flooding conditions, any bad weather situation, it's very big with tropical systems, but in this case with floodwaters, it doesn't help the fact that we're rapidly building up the state of Florida, industrializing everywhere you look. Wildlife, critters, and insects are going to be displaced. So don't be surprised if you've got a lot of water built up in your area and all of a sudden there's new insects, the water bugs, the cockroaches, the crickets, all that stuff. Mosquitoes are probably going to make a return, but thankfully, I'll leave you on a positive note. We've got cold weather relief coming for the end of the week, Thursday into Friday, Halloween night, and then into the first couple days of November. We're looking at a nice cold snap coming through, an official cold snap, to where we could be anywhere between 5, 10, if not even 15 degrees below the low to mid 80 average for our high temperatures here in Central Florida. I'm ecstatic. I'm excited for it. Going to hopefully get rid of a lot of the nasty stuff that we've been dealing with. And then obviously, we're still tracking Melissa. And there's another little weak signal out there that may try to percolate in the Central Caribbean. I've got my eyes on as well. And I'll have all the details at our 11:30 and here in the Digital Weather Center. But have a wonderful night, everybody. Stay safe. God bless. We'll talk to you again very soon. But until next time, I always like to say the outro. This is the Digital Weather Center signing out.